Welcome to Wait, What Do You Do Again? I'm your host, Meghan DeFord, and today I am joined by Sarah Hubbard, who is a keynote speaker, author of The Intentional Networker, and someone who is helping people completely rethink what networking actually is. I think for a lot of people, networking feels somewhere between awkward small talk and that cringy constant selling of yourself. But Sarah's approach is so much more human and intentional. Sarah, welcome. And I'm going to ask you the first thing that so many of us ask at networking events. What do you do?
Well, thank you for having me. So I would say the way I explain it at events, depending upon what the event is and what I'm there to accomplish, I'm a multi-passionate entrepreneur who started her business in residential mortgage financing, a very crowded space where there's a lot of us that don't have the best reputation. And that's what's led me to this journey of how I've grown that business all through relationships. And now I work on helping people that don't feel great at people, but really exceptional at what they do, be able to talk about what it is that they do and the way that it aligns with them. So they're attracting the right people into their circles, whether it's who you're surrounding yourself with to refer out or potential opportunities to come in and actually close business.
That's awesome. How do you think most people define networking or think about networking? Especially like I'm 43, I'm a millennial, and networking has changed so much even in my lifetime and in my career. So I'm curious, how do most people come to you thinking what networking actually is?
This was hard. I actually had to think about this for my book. I had to be like, get the actual term of what networking is in the dictionary and be like, what do I think it is? And it's a bit different. And I am 41, so I very much understand. I have watched and evolved even in my 15 years of doing mortgage lending. It has changed tremendously. I think traditionally people think they go into a networking event and it is talk about myself, sell myself, and we're all here for the ultimate goal of making revenue to our business. That is what most people think of when they think of networking. They think of forced small talk. I've got to be on. I can't show any hurdles of what's going on in my business because that will somehow take away the trust that I need to build in order to get opportunities. And I have the complete opposite view of that. I have watched a lot of people do that traditional networking where they have cards, they go and hand them out, they pitch, 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 pitch. And then off they go thinking I've done the right thing. I've spread my love and business will come. It will not, at least not quickly. You will turn off a lot of people that way. I call that card stabbing, by the way, and I'd highly recommend that you rethink that. Have business cards on you, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah,
don't
totally.
just go hand them out to people. So my version of networking is, yes, there is an underlying component of needing a business need at an event, whether it's a networking event, a coffee, a drink, or even a big conference. But what I want you to do is I challenge everybody to show up as you are in your business. A lot of times when we are solopreneurs or small business owners, it can feel really freaking lonely. And you need to think about these people that you're spending time with on a monthly basis, weekly basis, wherever it is that you're spending time. These are your community, these are your
Yeah.
people, and they are craving the connection and the actual truth about what's going on. People, I think, in general, the average human, I mean, I know things are constantly changing, want to help other people inherently. This is part of our actual DNA. And if you don't give somebody a way to help you or a way to solve or support you by being a little bit vulnerable, they don't know how to. And it will take a lot longer down the road to build potentially a great connection with somebody that could bloom into your best referral partner, your best friend, business friend, or somebody that you are power partners with that you refer out wholeheartedly and they do business just like you and can support a client, whatever it is. And you've now built a power circle around you, but it comes with being real and being honest. And I'm not talking about being the Debbie Downer negative ghost. That happens all the time. I could go on a total tangent about interest rates in the mortgage business. And the minute I start saying that, everyone's like, inflation, gas prices, this, that. That is a real part of my job. But also, I'm talking about like, hey, I am just really struggling hiring right now. I have gone through Indeed, I have gone through LinkedIn, and I just cannot find a qualified person to save my life. I am drowning, with tasks and I'm doing things that maybe a virtual assistant should be doing, but here I am still stuck in it. That's the kind of thing that people want to go, you know what? Me too, got this. And so that to me is what really makes a great networking experience, is when you can just be a little vulnerable. And that's really tough for people, but that little piece will change how you show up when you start being a little vulnerable and open and curious about others' vulnerability, and maybe trying to help solve that if you can.
Yeah. I love that. When you were talking about passing out business cards, I was thinking of like, yeah, it's not gardening. This isn't seeds and that's like they're just going to grow. And the idea of being vulnerable or being specific about your ask, I think is so important. And my background in philanthropy, one of the biggest challenges I see teams make is they cultivate, cultivate, cultivate. So it's like dating. They get to know someone, get to know
Yes.
someone, get to know someone, but they never make the ask.
Yep.
And there's a lot of reasons for that that we're not going to go into, but I think it is that vulnerability. And it's just like with us, it's saying like, hey, I'm really struggling to find a VA, or, how has that worked for you? Or I'm looking for 3 clients next month. We've really slowed down. This is who I'm looking for. People, like you said, inherently want to help. It's how evolutionarily we have survived. And I do think it builds that trust that like this person isn't bullshitting me, right? Like this is
Yes.
being honest, and maybe I can't help them, but like I now know about them a little bit more, and you're building that relationship. And I'm really curious for you, when did this shift happen for you? Was there like an aha moment, or did it come sort of over time?
No, I don't know if it was necessarily an aha moment. I think it kind of came over time. But
Mhm.
what I will say, so I, in my mortgage business, I am the only female salesperson office. I should
Yeah.
say, not in my industry. There's lots of females, but there, I came from an industry where I watched all of these gentlemen send direct mailers to people's houses with
Yeah.
some strategery behind it. It wasn't just a spray and pray
Sure.
type method. The phone would ring, they'd sell. Very little relationship felt like it was actually made on that phone call. Some people were better at that than others. And that's how they had built their databases and their client base, and how they were getting business for like 30 years. And so when I came in, I was like, oh, this works. I'm just going to do it. And I was told, you got to spend money to make money. You got to spend money to make money. Well, I spent about 60K plus in credit cards to do this direct mailing on my mortgage side of business. And I was miserable,
Mm.
miserable. People were calling. They're like, what's the rate? I'm like, what's your name? Who are you?
Yeah.
I'm not a call center. I don't know what the rate
Yeah.
is. There's so many things that go into that. And so I started looking for other opportunities and ways to generate business for myself. And this is when networking was introduced to me. And I remember going like, well, I love people. I'm a serious extrovert. So for me, this was like right up my alley. And then I remember going to my first event, and people were like, I like introduce myself, say, hey, I'm Sarah Hubbard. I do residential mortgage financing. And I would watch people's physical demeanor start changing,
Yeah.
like closed off, no longer wanting to talk with me. And I wanted to be like, but I'm so much more than that. Like,
Yeah.
why am I getting defined by what I do professionally? And it was that way for a really long time. And then I watched a lot of people around me that I felt like were doing really well and getting business from their efforts. And I watched how they interacted. I watched how they asked great questions, how they were prepared before they walked in the door with what they needed to get out of that time or event that they were spending. And from there, I started to just embody who I was. And lo and behold, 2 years into it, my referral partners were coming to me and going, how are you getting so much business from networking? Like, and a lot of my clients are real estate agents, our referral partners are real estate agents, insurance agents, financial advisors, all of these people that when you go to events, we are crowded. There's at least one
Yeah.
other person there, right?
Yeah.
So I started taking this and realizing that I had a framework here. I actually had something that I was doing, didn't have it written down yet, but I was doing this systematically in my head through my different events, through coffees, through all these things. And I was started teaching people how to do it and
Mhm.
showing up, like you said, to be prepared. We we operate best when we are prepared. When we're running late, we're kind of just showing up and you're like, I don't know. It shows it's not a bad thing, right? We're human. This
Yeah.
happens to all of us.
Sure.
But when you're prepared and have a goal and have an ask of what you need to accomplish in these next 2 hours, makes it far more intentional with your time. Being vulnerable, being curious about who you're talking about, that will get you a far way. And being specific. Our human brains are not meant for these multi dynamic, like 18 things. They want one thing that you do that they can hang on to and
Yeah.
go, I can solve this for you. Or I may not be able to solve it for you today, but I know somebody that can, or it comes up in the conversations in the next month or two.
Yeah.
And then the last piece of this framework that I kind of developed, we call it the MAP framework, which we'll get into, but
Yeah.
is the actual do what you say you're going to do and the staying in touch and the follow through that you do after this. This
Yeah.
isn't a Megan and I met one time and all of a sudden magic has happened and we have all this business flowing. No, these take time and
Yeah.
not just putting somebody on an automated email list to go, I'm still here. No,
Right.
this is like taking parts of our conversation that we had and interweaving it into that next thing. Like, hey, I heard you were taking a vacation. How was your trip? Like,
Yeah.
how was that book that you were reading? I thought of you when I was reading Unreasonable Hospitality or whatever it is that took, like, you are just putting in a little bit more effort than what it was to be just the surface. So for me, there wasn't really one moment, but it was, I realized that I was doing this. And then I got started to get asked to present to different networking groups. And I was like, I might have something here. And
Yeah.
then I found as I was doing this that the people that needed the most help were people that identified as introverts, attorneys, CPAs, my tech people, doctors, dentists, like people that are
Interesting.
exceptional. Like they went through massive amounts of schooling to get the knowledge that they have to execute their job. But if they put them in a room, they're not taught how to run a business. They're not taught how to
Sure.
talk to people. And they don't necessarily have that inherent drive like I do to be like, yeah, tell me more. And people come into my circle and they want to. They don't have that. It's not right or wrong. But
Hmm.
how do I teach you a little bit about what strengths you do have and let those shine and then also be intentional while you're spending time?
Yeah, I love that. And I coach women, and one of the things that I see all the time is that women are taught to be likable. Women are taught to perform and take others' expectations and perform to that level.
Yes.
And visibility is a real challenge sometimes. And it was a challenge for me, frankly. I'm curious, especially as someone who was in a pretty male-dominated space as you were figuring this out, how do you see that showing up for women, and what advice would you give? Because everything that you're talking about, and I'm gonna stereotype a little bit here, right? But women tend to be better at this. We are more relational, not everyone, whatever, but we tend to build community and support each other. But I think when we have this very male dominated idea of what networking is in this box of it, that's where we sort of fumble a little bit. So I'm curious what advice you would give or what you've seen, especially as it comes to women networking, regardless of their industry.
What I've seen a lot of is other women feel way more comfortable networking with other women because they
Hmm.
feel like they can be their true vulnerable self at that point in
Hmm.
time. That if they're in a room that's mixed or in a room that has a majority of male versus female, that they have to sell. They can't be who they truly are. They have to just be on. It has to be perfect. It has to look this certain way. And it doesn't. And I
Hmm.
will tell you, I have networked with so many gentlemen. I use a story all the time about in my authentic presence framework piece.
Hmm.
I remember I was part of a networking group. It's called Provisors. I'm still a part of it. We have big home group meetings and then we break off into smaller meetings and they're called troikas. And I remember this was during COVID, got on a troika with somebody just like you and I are on Zoom. And this is how he started the call. I don't have a mortgage on my home. I don't have any kids that are willing to buy a home or any of my neighbors. So I really have no idea how you and I are ever going to work together or do business.
Yep.
And you were like, I was like, uh, okay, I don't know anything about you, but let me tell you how the rest of that conversation went. I asked questions,
Yeah.
but I was not fully engaged or involved in anything that he had to say
Yeah.
because he wasn't being open about what the heck I had to say and had completely put me into a box prior to even walking in the door with me or walking into Zoom with me.
Right.
It happens all the time. And what I tell people is the best that you can do is show up as what you need at
Hmm.
that point in time. Don't change because he's being closed minded.
Yeah.
Get your ask in at the end because you may be surprised. While he may not be fully engaged in this problem, and it didn't go anywhere, he is
Yeah.
no longer part of Provisors. He got nothing from Provisors, by the way, because I'm sure I wasn't the only person he had done
Oh,
this
for
type of
sure.
conversation with, right?
Yeah. It
He
wasn't
was
because you were a woman, it was the closed-mindedness. Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
He wanted to, he had his people he wanted to talk to. That's what he wanted to talk to, and that's what he wanted to get. But regardless, if you get your ask in what you need, right, from
Yeah.
that call, you have done the best that you could do during that 30 minutes to an hour of your time. And you never know what sunk in or what didn't. And
Yeah.
so, with that, likable versus visible type thing, I think that women in general, we just crave connection a little bit more. We crave realness and then feel like we have to change that when we're interacting with men
Yeah.
and feel like we need to be that cell, black, white. This is what it is. Because when you watch men network, it's, hey, how you doing? How are things? Things are great. How's business? Like, it is
Yeah.
pointed. I can be pointed. I don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
And so when I know that I'm about to go interact with somebody like that, it's a quick mindset shift of, I might have to be a little bit more direct, but I'm still going to be me. I'm
Yeah.
still going to interject like the real, tell me more about that scenario. Not just that it's great. Why was it great? Why
Mhm.
does business feel so full? What
Right.
efforts were you doing prior to make things full?
Yeah.
They could be BSing or not. I have no
Sure.
idea.
Yeah.
But give me more of the details, and you'd be surprised how many of them are willing to share, but you have to be the driver of that to get a different result. That's the biggest thing that I could say.
People love talking about themselves. And again, after spending 20 years in fundraising, so much of it is just ask a question and stop talking. People will tell you everything. And so if anybody has that anxiety of like, what am I going to ask? Have your one or two good questions and just listen, actively listen. And people really will tell you. I think the other thing too that I saw a lot in my alumni engagement days as part of philanthropy is we would have these networking events and it would be, I mean, in some areas, it was 80 to 90% guys. And they were wonderful. They were great guys. They wanted to help each other. They were welcoming of women. It certainly
Yep.
wasn't like an old boys club or anything. But I would talk to women who said, like, I feel so uncomfortable coming here. I'm always the only woman. And like you said, I think they felt like they had to perform a certain way. And I said, look, I'm here all the time. You always know someone else is going to be here if you need a break.
Yes.
Start bringing other women with you. Because I also think it was beneficial to the men in the room, right? Like it not only expanded their networks, but it expanded their, like you said, their ways of networking or seeing different networking.
Yes.
And I guess this isn't a question, but I think it's really important for women to remember that they belong there. Like you belong and not to go in with a story already written about what that event is going to be like. Some of the greatest advocates for me have been men.
Yep.
And sometimes it's me saying, like, I don't even know what I should be asking. I can't tell you how impactful it has been to just put myself in uncomfortable situations
Yep.
and let the experience happen. And I stand up for myself. I have left situations before. It's not about putting up with behavior that's not okay, but I do want women who are listening to this or introverts, you belong there. And
All day long.
like you said, you can show up authentically as you are and you can make the experience your experience. And I am curious because I do think networking comes with this anxiety and people are like, oh, I'm just an introvert or oh, I get so anxious about it. Do you feel like that is rooted in a fear of judgment or a fear of what I was just saying? Like, I don't really belong here versus like, I'm an introvert. Like, is that sort of a cover? Because, and I will say this as you're thinking of responding, I'm an extrovert. Like, I can go talk to that wall if I need to.
Same.
I have to take breaks networking. I have to, in my car or wherever beforehand, like center myself. I go to the bathroom just to chill out. Like I don't think it's so much about extrovert, introvert. I think it's about more of our identity and the fears we have of being judged and, like you said, seen and being vulnerable. And me literally saying, I mean, I say that now. I cannot believe I told a man who ran a hedge fund. I was like, I don't get Wall Street. Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand what
I
this
also
is.
don't quite understand hedge funding. So can you
Yeah.
please tell me, like, simplify it down to like the dumbest
You
level?
tell me like I'm 5 years old. Like, literally, let's start there. And then I'm like, oh,
I get it. I do understand, but you
yeah,
keep
I
dropping these
do
terms
get
and I
it.
have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's funny. I interviewed quite a few introverts for my book because I
Mhm.
originally wrote it and I wrote it from me. Like,
Yeah.
I can actively listen pretty dang well. but introverts do it better, by the way, side note. But like
Oh,
I can, like you, can go and make friends with a rock. Like
yeah.
that is just who I am as a person. It's my personality. And so I was challenged to, hey, see if you can interview some introverts. And it was really, really interesting. And again, my pool was about 50. So this is not like a scientific, I'm not a scientific
Yeah.
writer, but every single one of them had an inherent story that they got told when they were younger that they weren't good at it. That
Yep.
because it didn't come easy to them.
Yep.
So some teacher, some parent, some interaction was so deeply embedded in the story that they were telling themselves over and over and over. That was one of the first things that was the first layer to I don't belong here. This is really makes me really uncomfortable. And it was men and women, just so you know. It was not just women.
Yeah.
Like, and some of these people were on the spectrum, like they're
Mhm.
autistic. And so it takes them a lot of effort to maintain eye contact with
Sure.
people. They had to relearn and reteach themselves basic things that we take for granted sometimes when we're interacting with people. So, but it was wild to me to be like, some teacher told me that I was really bad at public speaking or I was really bad at standing up. And I wanted to be like, I've known you for like 5 years and I've literally I've never thought about that for you one time.
Yeah.
And they were like, really? And I'm like, oh my God. And this is just what happens. And maybe I had received some of that same feedback from a teacher one day in a different aspect. And I might have a limiting belief in my head or a story in my head about something different that I don't feel great about. But that was a common theme that I had heard over and over and over in some of these people. And I was like, holy crap, this goes way deeper than the work that I am trying to get out. But that was something that I saw. And it took me just telling that person, like, hey, I have never experienced that in my interactions with you, whether it's one time, 50 times, or
Right.
10 times. And they were like, oh, wow, thank you so much. And just that little flip of a switch and preparing themselves a little bit more, right? Introverts, like you said, you still need time as an extrovert to recover from networking
Yeah.
events, right? Keep your days light. If you know you've got an event, keep the day light. Don't put on really heavy meetings or you having to show up for clients or this, and then expect you to go thrive later
Right.
on that evening at a 2 hour event. It's not
Yeah.
going to happen that way,
Yeah.
right? Network with a buddy. Give yourself a time limit. I'm going to give myself 45 minutes and
Mhm.
I need to accomplish this or X or Y. And then a lot of people have their safe space that they retreat to, their car, their house. I get to go home after this and do nothing,
Yeah.
fully recharge, not talk to anybody. That helps so much and leverage the people that are the extroverts or that are there often and say, hey, I really would love to meet X, a financial advisor, a this, an IT person, a bookkeeper. Do you know if anybody's here? And leverage the people that are connectors and let them break ice for you. Be, like you said, active listening. Introverts are far better active listeners than extroverts. I will just tell you that. And go in with one or two great questions. You can use AI. There's some in my book. You can have two great open ended questions and let that person talk. And then you will find out if it's a great fit for you or not. But that is where I find people, they just have these stigmas that I am not good at something. So it means it's going to be really hard, really challenging. And getting that extra oomph to get over the hurdle to go do it, it takes a lot more effort. It's a real thing. But I promise you, even if you're brand new, introvert, extrovert, ambivert, whatever it is that you personality wise have, we all have these stories in our heads.
Right.
And it may be true, it may not be true, maybe partially true, right? I'm not here to debunk one way or the other, but you're not alone out there.
Yeah.
Everybody has them. And if you can go in remembering that and go in with intention, go in with an ask, and go in with a tentative plan about what you need, you will start getting traction beautifully with the right people.
Yeah. I love that. That's wonderful. I think your identity, what you were talking about is that identity that was formed by others,
Yep.
especially in childhood, which it's surprising to hear you say, but is not when you actually think about it. And networking is a skill and you can learn
Yes.
skills. And I think that's an important thing to think about. And your identity can be an anchor or it can be a rocket ship. And that's something that you get to choose. No one in that room gets to choose that. You get to choose it.
And you are correct. It is a skill. I love the way you said that. It is networking is 100% a skill, just like we train our bodies to run marathons or lift weights or rehabbing after an injury or a
Cook a
surgery.
recipe. Yeah. I mean,
Yes.
yeah.
Still a skill. And the only way to get it better and refine it is to keep flexing it.
Do the reps. Yeah. And I want to talk about follow-up, but I want to ask you first, is it better to talk about what follow-up should look like, or should we talk about the MAP method and maybe that's sort of
Yep.
encapsulated?
Let's do MAP quick because I've referenced it a few times. And then I'll spend a lot of time on the last P pillar is purposeful follow through, which is what we'll spend a lot of time on. So real quick, we've kind of touched on it inherently through our conversation. So MAP is not anything special. I just realized I had an acronym into what I teach and to do. So the M is mindset and intention. We as entrepreneurs, as humans, are better when we are prepared. Like even before you and I jumped on this call, right? I've listened to a few of your episodes. I've tried to understand who Meghan is so I can make sure we are vibing on the same page to make this podcast the best effort that we can when we're having a conversation. The same goes for when you're walking into a coffee, a room of 20, 50, 80, or a conference. If there's any way you can get your hot little hands on a list or who is a part of that organization before you walk in the door, you can set yourself a tentative plan based off of what you need. Take a few minutes to center yourself. Where are you? Is your hair on fire? Are you super anxious? Are you feeling confident, strong? There's no right or wrong about what you are, but you just need to take a few minutes to find out where you are so that you can honor and not try to change or fix it. Go in as you are. And with the intention pieces, after this, you will in the notes, we have some AI prompts that I have in my book. I've got some ideas that you can use before you walk into a room. If you can get your hands on a list or drop the website of an event you're going to and it says the businesses that are going to be there and let it do the heavy lifting for you on recommendations of people that you should talk to. You'd be so surprised of things and suggestions that AI gives you with this prompt that you're like, I would have never thought that was a good person for me to talk to. And it turns out they're amazing, right?
Yeah.
And it just challenges you a little bit. The next pillar is A, which is authentic presence. And if I could add the word curiosity here and for it to make sense in the acronym, I totally would. And this isn't, we're hearing this word all the time, authenticity. Show up as yourself with AI, with social media, with all of it. This isn't like go online and record yourself crying that you are, upset about something or had this real thing. But what I'm talking about is show up as your true self, introvert, extrovert, ambivert, whatever it is. Be a little bit vulnerable and be curious. Take away the distractions, right? We all have phones, iWatches, Aura rings, Fitbits, all the things. And it's just, we are in a era of overhitting of all the things of information. Put your phone on, do not disturb. If you need to have it out, right? I've got a toddler, I've got a 3.5-year-old, and I'm 22 weeks pregnant. So, sometimes I have to have my phone out because I'm expecting a call from somebody. If you tell somebody that, they are far more generous about you having to step away or looking at your phone if it's ringing than I can't tell you how many times where I've been talking to somebody and they look at their watch and you've just completely broken that connection. And it just feels like I'm not seen, I'm not heard, I'm good here. This is a no for me, right? So just eliminate the distractions for a short period of time. If you need to have it out, just explain that you have to have it out, but just be present, be curious, find those 2 or 3 questions that have people talk about themselves a little bit more. And again, I have a prompt for this to help you get some of those questions, to help you have them in your arsenal so that you feel a little bit better about showing up. And the vulnerability piece is you have to share a little bit about yourself personally or professionally. And this is not doom and gloom. This is, I have a fertility journey with my first guy. So that was something I showed up with many times when I was going through my IVF journey. And then when I had my delivery, I had a lot of complications. My little guy was in the NICU for 21 days. I had meals at my doorstep for 43 nights from my networking community, not my friends, not my family, my community that was along with the journey with me while I was going through it. Other mortgage lenders that do what I do were bringing me dinner. That's what you will get, that support, that embodiment when you share a little bit more that is you.
Yeah. Yeah.
The next P, or the first P, is precise messaging. The biggest thing that I can say, again, we talked about it, pretend you're talking to a 10-year-old. Specific is best.
Yeah.
Please try to avoid the words anybody, anything. When you keep it too broad, and it's a catch 22 that we have when we're starting. We can help anybody. We want to
Right.
have, but I will tell you, you will get better opportunities when you are specific.
Yes.
And this doesn't mean that you talk about one thing. I can do in my mortgage lending business like 50 different loans. Like I can do all the things, but you have seasons in your business. What are you
Right.
looking for at this time? That's what you talk about for a month, for a quarter, for 2 weeks, and then pivot a little bit. But being specific, keeping it simple, inserting a little bit of your personality into your 30-second pitch, or when somebody asks you at the airport what you do, if you're humorous, add a little humor. If you are bone dry, just be bone dry about it. That's okay. That's how people want to connect with you. But you have to work on how you deliver what you do.
Yeah.
And I tell people, record yourself on your phone. I talk with my hands,
Yeah.
like I'm an East Coaster. Like this
Yeah.
is how things are. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you record yourself and see what you're saying, are you saying in like, are you actually like hunched over? Do you have like confident presence? You don't have to share it with anybody. You can share it with me. I'm happy to give
Yeah.
you feedback on it, but you don't not posting it everywhere. And you'd be like, that wasn't what I was going for at all. Or heck yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
People
And
will get
then
so uncomfortable with that. They're like, you want me to record myself? I'm like, yes, I do.
it's
In your
critical.
bathroom. What? I don't care. On your film
Totally.
camera. Like,
Totally. And it's
doesn't
just
matter.
for you. The amount of times, especially with the podcast and listening back to myself, I'm like, I sound like an idiot. Like I had no idea how many times I said, and how many times I'd start a thought, 4 sentences already in my head. And that's where I started the thought. And I was like, how does anybody understand you? So it does help. It really, really does help.
Yeah. And so the messaging piece, again, you want to give the people that are listening something to hold on to and go, ooh, I have a client. I know somebody that be a great introduction for. That's the goal of your messaging,
Yeah.
right? We could
Yeah.
go into branding and your website and all of that. That's not what this is about. This is
Right.
about when you have to stand up and describe what you do or describe what you're looking for in front of a room. These are the ways to be successful with it.
Yeah.
And then
then
last
I'm curious.
is purposeful follow through. So where you were just asking about, this is where the magic happens in networking, where you will see revenue inserted into your business and where most people drop the ball
Mhm.
because we get home, we get back into our worlds, we get caught up in doing it, and oh, I'll do that tomorrow, I'll push it to next week, and then weeks and weeks and weeks go by, and all of a sudden it hasn't happened, right? We've
Yeah.
all guilty of it. So when I went to a mortgage conference when I first started my networking journey, they're selling you stuff. People are coaches and all these things. I remember going up to a woman who had been doing mortgage lending for like 25 years, huge team, very successful, selling her coaching program. And I was like, here's what's going on. Here's what I'm struggling with. I'm in debt. I want to do this networking thing, but I don't really know what to do or how to say or where to start. And she was like, I'm going to give you the best advice to be successful in not only mortgage business, but in any business. And I was like, okay, what you say you're going to do. And I was like, there's no way it's that easy. Well, it turns out most professionals don't do what they say they're going to do,
Yeah.
or at least do it in the time frame that was promised. And I found that out pretty quickly, and I was like, God, she's not wrong. I can't believe it was this simple. Like simple, not easy, but simple. So I take that a lot when I am trying to promise asks or introductions or that next kind of step. And I set appropriate timeframes off my schedule. Okay.
Yep.
Not because the so and so research said it has to happen within 48 or 72 hours. You know your schedule. Okay. If it's full, I have a full day today. There's very little that's going to happen in my day today that's not already planned. Okay. So if I were to have an introduction for Megan after this call, I would tell her, hey, it's not going to happen until Wednesday at 5 p.m.
Yeah.
And now I've given myself the weekend and 2 extra business days because we happen to have a holiday coming up. But regardless, and deliver by Wednesday at 5 p.m. Okay. If you cannot, I have sent emails to say, hey, I have been swamped. You're still on my mind. This
Totally.
will be to you. And push that expectation out the next time.
Yeah.
But that's where trust is built first and foremost with the small promises of introductions, of check-ins, of whatever it is. And that's where people drop the ball. And then with the purposeful follow through, couple things that I just get on a soapbox about. How many times do you get things where it says, I'm just following up? I hate those words, hate them with the bane of my existence. I got text from a roofer that I don't even know that was trying to like cold text, like, they were working the neighborhood off hail season.
Yeah.
And I'm just following up to see if you want your free estimate. Let me tell you, you could take the words just following up and say, hey, Sarah, it's Brittany. Are you interested in a free
Yes.
estimate on your roof? Take the word out. Just get right to the point.
Yeah.
And I know that you are working a list and you're going down and doing your checklist.
Fine, yeah.
That's fine. We encourage you to do that. Take out the words follow up. Just get to the
Just needs to be
point.
in the garbage can.
Hate
Just
that
get rid of
word.
just. Yeah.
Just get rid of just, baby. And people are like, so what do I say if I am
Following
per
up.
our conversation? We wanted to connect in 2 weeks. It's been
Yes.
2 weeks. I wanted to see if you wanted to get together or that kind of stuff. Just take out the fluff, get right to it. That's what people want right now. And that's going to get you the better results.
Yes.
The last piece that I'll talk about here is CRMs, Excel spreadsheets, Airtables. I don't care what you use to track these types of things. You don't need to spend $100 a month on a CRM unless you have one. Great, you use it. But I have a free Excel spreadsheet that I've created. It's simple, guys. There's nothing. I have an A, B, C, and then a nothing designation, and it's name, contact information, and then notes, right? What we talked about, and then next follow up date. So when I go in and I'm working it, you have to work this list every week, 15 to 30 minutes, personalized reach outs. Okay. Personalized reach outs. I heard this podcast and I thought you were thinking of you per our last conversation. Love to get coffee. Send me some dates and times at work.
Yeah.
I saw you posting online on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever that you're going through some hard time. Is there anything I can do? Can I bring you a meal? Love to check in on you.
Yeah.
Whatever you can grab from those conversations, bring it home, bring it around. And that's what makes a difference in your networking relationships. You care. You're not just somebody else that got lost in the hubbub. And again, A's for me are people that could directly fuel my business. Okay. So for me in the mortgage sales cycle, there's a lot of us, things are happening very quickly. I'm touching base with my A's every 2 to 3 weeks, personalized reach outs. Okay. And this all will vary on your sales cycle. So again, this is what I do for my mortgage business. Adjust the timelines based off of your sales cycle. B's are, there could be some overlap. I really like you. I'm going to touch base with you monthly, bi-monthly, or every other month. Okay. And C's are, you are great. Our businesses are like, very different. Oil and water have very little overlap, but I still really like you. I still think that there could be some great continuing of our growth, of our support of business owners. So maybe I'm touching base with you personally quarterly.
Yeah.
Okay. Every 6 months, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And then a no designation for me is it's just a no, right? They're not getting any of the personalization of Sarah, but they're still in my database because you never know when that person will come around into your circle in a deal, in a coaching session. You just never know. Okay.
Yeah.
But you make the decision that it's a no for you. They don't get the special magic that you are. Okay.
Right.
And you have to work that list weekly. Okay. Just like you would work your client list, work prospects, revenue coming into your business. This is a stream of revenue. It can be, and you have to work it. So I don't care if you do it on a Monday, a Tuesday, a Friday. Fridays typically are my days when I do a lot of this. I block 30 minutes on my calendar and here I go, making it all happen, right?
Yeah.
And that is where the revenue, the consistency, handwritten cards, if that's your thing, take the time, build it into your schedule. That's where you will get the revenue generating connections and opportunities.
Yeah. And there's two things about this that I love, and they are both with distractions and busyness. Everybody has a million things going on in their personal life and their professional life. So the weekly really is critical in order to work.
Yes.
Do not take it personally if you don't hear back from someone, because
Yes.
I don't know, maybe school got canceled early because there was a water main break, like stuff you don't know anything about going on in that person's life, or they've just had back-to-back meetings, didn't have the capacity to get back to you that day, and now your 20 emails below the most recent one. And the other part of this too, and it goes to sort of that busyness factor, is we all have so much going on in our lives. Be specific about the ask. When people say like, oh, I'd love to grab coffee. Yeah, me too. I've got a lot of things. What do you need? Because
Yeah. What's the point of our coffee?
We can grab coffee, but why are we grabbing coffee? Maybe I don't have time for coffee and we can do a Zoom. Maybe it's, you know what, let's not grab coffee. Come with me to this networking event. Be specific about what you are going in to talk about and what you need. It should never be a mystery. And I think it goes back to that idea of people want to help you, but when it's nebulous, they can't. And they may not be able to help you. Maybe I can't grab coffee because I'm not the right person. Let me think about who might be, right? And that's totally fine. But I love that idea of like working that list consistently and having how much time and effort you're going to put into it. And just really quickly, for anyone who's listening to this, can you explain what a CRM stands for and what it means?
Client relations management system.
Yeah.
Okay. But basically, think of it as like an online notebook. A lot of CRMs now have a lot of automations and different things and a lot of bells and whistles, which are fantastic as you start learning. But basically, it is an online notebook where you're putting in the people's information, labeling them as a prospect, a borrower, a lead, a referral partner, a real estate agent, whatever it is, your system that you develop, their contact information, and then basically a note handling place of, you know, May 22nd, Meghan and I, sat down for a coffee. We recorded a podcast together, brain dump all of the little nuggets that you got or didn't get from that person. And then mentally where they sit, and then task is created that I check in with them X date.
Right.
And
your next step. Yeah,
your next step. And so the CRM is a great way to automate that. You can do the same thing in an Excel spreadsheet, a Google Airtable for free.
Yeah.
You can do it in AI. My AI prompt for this specific pillar can be as detailed as you want. Like it can build the whole thing for you, or it could just say, hey, I need emails for these 5 people. Here are the notes and I need next steps. Can you draft me 5 emails and it'll do for you in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. Now, personalize those a little bit. Okay. Take that as your base, but you can cut the time down quite tremendously with AI. So when I'm leaving an event, I have my CRM linked. So my AI, when I'll tell it to go put it into my RAD CRM and they talk to each other. They may not be able to talk to each other, but say, hey, recap these notes so I can copy and paste this into my Airtable, whatever. But I open up Chat, Claude, Perplexity, wherever your little heart desires of your AI platform. All of them have a talking feature and you can just brain dump. So I'll leave an event and I'm going to pick up my kid at daycare. And I'm like, I met so-and-so. They have 2 kids. They're going to Arizona this weekend for Memorial Day weekend and all the things. And I just talk to it. And then I tell it, recap, pull out the next 2 things I need to, or my promises that I need to do and put it on my to-do list. 1, you're training your AI on how you speak, interact, and how you actually talk. So first and foremost, beautiful thing. But second, it's doing the lifting for you so that when you get back to your desk, you can accomplish what you have to do in half the time, where before we would manually add this. And that's where the balls get dropped because we come back and we're like, oh, I've got 5 money-making activities sitting in front of my face that are hitting me right now. Versus taking the time and then the business cards are like stacked on your desk and you're like, God, I've really got to get to those. So using that as a tool to make things flow a little bit easier is so game changing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say it depends on your relationship and your comfort level. I love a text versus an email. I'll send people a voice note and I'm a fairly, just as listeners, or if you're watching this on YouTube, like I am a fearless texter. It could be 5 years and I'll be like, Sarah, I heard a podcast. Like I will come out of the blue, but I love a text and it saves so much time and energy on my part. Other people love emails, whatever it is. But I think anything that can really reduce that time, and AI has been a game changer for me of like draft this. So all I'm doing is going through the drafts and updating, and changing it, but it's just saving me time. And I get in my head about, is this the perfect word? Is this exactly the right? It saves me so much time and energy to get out of my own way. Let me put it that
Yes.
way.
And perfection is not the end goal here, folks. Realness is the end goal.
Yes, it is. And I am a big Seth Godin fan. And sometimes when I'm literally spending 45 minutes on one email that's like 2 paragraphs, I'm like, Megan, it's spec. Get it out the door. Like, get it out. It's spec. Do it. I see him with his little glasses looking at me, like, send the email.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I love that you have those prompts in your book. And all of this has been amazing. And I'm curious, like, what is your relationship with ambition now than it was when you started? And if networking has made that easier for you? I mean, you talked about getting into pretty significant debt, building your business with direct mail. And then now you've written a book, you're coaching people on how to do this. Like, just, can you just talk a little bit about like who you were then and who you are now?
Oh, yes. We are very different humans, but
Yeah.
not necessarily in a bad way. Okay. I'm a mom now. And so my priorities are a little different. Before I could go to events until 8 o'clock at night and then go out for drinks after. And my husband at the time would not care. He'd be like, great, I'm so glad that you socialized and did all the things. I was willing to cross things and stay out late and do all the things. And now I've got very firm boundaries in regards to what it is, what I'm committed to, what gets my time, and what's the best use of that time now has evolved over the years. And it will evolve for you in your networking journey as well if you let it, not in a bad way and not in a limiting way, but in a more intentional way. So before I would go to all the free events, chambers, I would invest in things that were not huge money, like didn't require a lot of upfront money because I didn't have a lot of money at that. And that was okay. I worked it for what it was. For a lot of times, those free events that you go to, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but when people have skin in the game, you tend to get a little bit more higher quality of professionals in a room. And that I'm talking about $20 or $50. It doesn't even have to be a huge investment. But the ambition back then was just go, 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 hustle, 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 drive, drive, drive. I don't have an option to fail. I have to get myself out of this debt. I have to provide for myself. Go, go, go. Now, 15 years later in this journey, I have way better boundaries. I kept myself at no more than 3 networking commitments because when you make a commitment to a networking group, event, whatever, consistency is key. If you say you're going to be somewhere, be somewhere. If you say you can't make it, let somebody know you can't make it. But what happens, what I see a lot is people start registering for events and then you don't see them for 6 months and people are like, oh, well, they registered, but they're not here again. Again, trust building. So for me, very firm boundaries, very firm on where I'm spending my time. My schedule is structured with my events happen, my networking happens on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so my team knows that. Everybody knows that those are the days that I'm probably not as readily available on email. I'm hot texting people that really need my attention at that point in time. But that's what I have built into my schedule because that's what works for me. Okay. And my Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays are, hardworking, do the calls, do the business activities, do the check-ins, all of that stuff. That is a huge switch that I made about 3 years ago. And it was rough when I first started it. Like I was like, oh, sure, I can go meet with you on a Wednesday because no, it's a Tuesday or a Thursday. And if it's not this week, it's going to be the following week. And it's going to be the following week. And it's going to be the following week. So ambition today doesn't look like, yes, there's still hustle, there's still drive, but it is far less of Sarah. My time is focused during these hours for that time and that drive. And then I've got to switch to mom mode. And then I've got to switch to wife mode. And then I've got to switch to just taking care of Sarah mode. So the ambition, the goal of what it is to still go out, grow community, grow my referral partners, and get business coming in consistently is still there. It's just not all the things. We are just very structured about what we commit to. And no is a big word that I never have used in the past. I used no very sparingly, and now I use no very often. And it's because I need to make sure, is this the room I want to be in, the right people that I want to be a part of? Is it leveling me up, or am I the top of it here and people are taking from me, right? Not right or wrong. It's just that's maybe not the best spend of Sarah's time right now.
Right. Yeah. It's that volume versus intention. That's a big one. And there's different phases of your life where you may be going through, a bell curve of that at different times. Tim Tormon, one of the best bosses I ever had, said to us, like, intentional yes, thoughtful no. So
Yep.
like, be strategic about your yeses, be strategic about your nos. And then another thing that I use in my personal life and my professional life is to what end? And
Yes.
that idea of right now, to what end is this serving me? And can I show up as my best self, right? And I'm not burnt out and I'm able to show up in the best way possible for everyone and including myself. I'm curious, has there been a connection that has really changed the trajectory of your life and who that person is? If the answer is yes.
It's a great question. I don't know if it's been one person, but I think it was, I would say it's probably more podcast book related than an actual physical person.
Yeah.
But I've done a lot of listening. I mean, Jenna Kutcher, Amy Porterfield, all of these people, right, that are really seasoned. But when you actually listen to the nitty of their stories, they're just like a you and me.
Yeah.
Okay. They're simple, they're women, they have great ideas. And what they did was execute, baby. They sat down and they executed
Yeah.
and they were consistent and they showed up good, bad, indifferent, and consistency wins over everything else. And so I think that if I could take out, again, it's not necessarily one person or one book or one thing, but what I have felt the most in my season of life right now is I have subtracted and I've
Mhm.
gone deep into a few things, right? I could think of all the things and want to do all the things, and the ideas keep flowing, flowing, flowing for me. It is a superpower. That is great. I'm not limited to one thing. But when you go deep on the thing that you want to go deep with and challenge yourself, level yourself up, put yourself in rooms where it makes you feel uncomfortable, where you're not just pouring into everybody else. My gosh, I've had the best 3 months I've had in my mortgage business over the last 3 months, right? I've attracted the right clients that actually want to help with the networking, not because it's free, not because it's a
Right.
freebie, all because I just said, like you said, intentional yes, no, and consistent, consistent, and went deep instead of wide.
Yeah. I think that's huge. And I'm curious, what is the worst networking advice maybe that you've heard?
I've heard so many. I think it's just my personal belief of like, going and meeting more people on a shallow level will get you
Yeah.
nowhere. You
Yeah.
know, like the card stabbing, the go and just put your card in everybody's hands and walk out. They will get left behind. They will get left in the trash. They will just not get you anywhere. That
Yeah.
is like a 1995 like old theory. Okay.
Yeah.
Cards are great. You should have business
Yeah.
cards. You should have an online card. But if you are actually genuine about where you're spending your time, if you ask for somebody's card and they give it to you electronically, they're probably a text email person. If they give you a physical card, they're probably a phone call person, right?
Yeah.
I have both. I don't really care. I'm all things of communication, but I'm like you. If I could text it, voice text it, like for me, it's out of my brain, it's happening
Yes.
quickly, but it is not about a spray and pray method.
Yeah.
It is about intentionality. It is about going in and trying to learn whatever you can about that person, about how they delivered, how they talked, what's their preferred form of communication. All of this is key to figuring out if they're the right person for you, your business, and as a referral to support your partners or your clients.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. More does not mean better when it
Yeah.
comes to networking. Like I've heard a lot of stuff, but that like go hand out your card to everybody and that's good enough. Oh no, bro. That's never going to get you to where you want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for people who are listening to this who may feel like they're new to networking, may feel like they're not good at networking, but now have the confidence that it's just a skill they can learn. Maybe it's people who are really savvy at networking. Your book, The Intentional Networker, really is for everybody. What can readers expect? Is it sort of like, do you work with the reader as they're going through? Is it almost like a workbook, or can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's like a 150-page book of me in your back pocket.
Love it. Yeah.
So it is. I actually voice to texted most of this book. I didn't sit at a screen and write it, as that works better for me because I thrive at that. But the feedback that I got and what my intention was for you to be able to pick this book up anytime in your journey, just starting super seasoned or somewhere in the middle, and be able to get refresher tips, ideas, and challenges to help you continue to improve all the way through.
Yeah.
That's what the point of the book is it's short, it's sweet, and if you need more or other ideas because you've tapped out all the ideas that I provided in that chapter or in that book for that pillar or framework, then you just reach out, baby, because there are more. But it is meant for people that are just starting. It is meant for people that are seasoned, or I don't know where I'm spending my time anymore, if this even makes
Yeah.
sense for me to be in a business networking international BNI group or a chamber or
Right.
a mastermind or whatever it is that you're a part of. Does this even make sense in reevaluating
Mhm.
it? Right? That's what the book is for. There's not really a workbook aspect, but there's the AI prompts in there that you can
Yeah.
use in there. But it's meant for having support and getting you better and more intentional with your time and how you're deciding to spend it.
Yeah. I think the book itself, I'm excited about. We were talking about this before we started recording. And as someone who's spent 20 years just like talking to people and figuring out where their interests are and then connecting them to a project that they can help fund, moving into this new phase of my life as a solopreneur, as you were saying, it's like I thought I felt super confident networking. And then it was like, oh, I am me as the founder and CEO of my business, not me as someone else with this very, with a language that you literally learn for that company. And so
Correct.
someone who like feels confident, knows to go, knows how to like work a room, it's sharpening those tools and it's changing the way that I see myself and how I can show up. Like, Sarah, you're going to lose your mind when I tell you this. I went to a networking event not in a suit the other day because I was like, that's not really who I am.
Snaps for that, sister. Just
Yeah,
be
but
you.
but literally, I mean, I literally had a moment where I was like, putting on a suit and I was like, what are you doing? Like, you wear shorts all the time. Like, and I didn't go in shorts, went in jeans and a blazer, which I love. But anyway, it was just one of these things where, again, the book meets you where you are. And it's a nice refresher for people.
The thing that I just love to kind of make sure that I remember is that you remember as a listener, every single one of us have magic inside of us. Every single one of us, whether it's been dimmed, put out, whatever it has been, you have that. And the more that you let it shine, you will attract the most amazing people that are meant to be around you. And I know it sounds a little wooey, but it's so true.
It's so true. It is so true. I love that. That's wonderful. What do you love most about this work that you're doing?
I just love watching the empowerment of people stepping into themselves and then watching their business flourish because they're not trying to follow what somebody else did or that this person had success doing it this way. Don't get me wrong, that does cut down some prep time when you're doing stuff, but it doesn't have to be the same exact way for every attorney, CPA, solopreneur, whatever it is. It is your way. We find your way, we find what it is, and we make it you. And that's what I love the most is that people can be like, oh, I thought I had to show up and say this certain thing this way because,
Right.
like, you just used your suit example, right?
Yeah.
Yes. As a corporate, you're high up, and people expect you to be a certain way when you are out there doing things at a C-suite
If
level.
I'm
That is
asking
a
you
thing.
for figure dift, I'm wearing a suit. Like that's
Hell
yeah.
yeah, you
Like,
are. Hell yeah, you are.
and I love a
And
suit, but
as you should, but
yeah.
you don't have to
Right.
all the time,
Right.
right?
Absolutely. And what advice would you give to your younger self?
Yeah. To just follow who you truly are, not because it's what everybody else is doing.
Mhm.
If college is not your thing, please don't force it. If you want to try and venture out, don't go do it because everybody else is doing it. Do it because your intention, who you are, is telling you something different. Follow it. It will lead you to so many places that you didn't even know were opportunities.
I love that. I think so many times we see the end of 10 years of up and down and side paths and side quests and all kinds of things. And that intentionality is so important. And the other thing that I've learned now in my life is the time thing is irrelevant. And why I'm saying that is you talking about college. If you're 18 or 19 and not sure about going to college, college isn't going anywhere. Like,
No, it will still be there to take your money, by the way.
yeah, it'll still be there. And maybe at 25, maybe at 50, that's your time, like, so I love that idea of that intentionality. And remember that we don't know how much time we have, but don't feel like it's now or never, because most of the time it is not
It's
now
not.
or never.
It is not.
It is not. And so how can people find you and how can they get your book?
Yeah. So my book is on Amazon.com, The Intentional Networker. It's also on Barnes and Noble, Target.com, Walmart.com,
Awesome.
all online. For getting in touch with me, my website is sarah-hubbard.com. All of the goodies, if you wanted to get on my email or anything that you want to connect with me, it's all through there. Prefer Instagram over a lot of the other social platforms, but I'm on LinkedIn at Sarah Hubbard. I am on Instagram at Sarah Ann Flan, Flan. My maiden name was Flannery and I still love it. So
Yeah.
I couldn't change that one. And then Facebook is Sarah Hubbard.
Awesome. And it's Sarah
with an H at the end.
The
Yes,
H makes
is.
all the difference. I'm a Megan with an H. I think there's something behind it. Sarah, this is
power to the H's, baby.
Power to the H. This has been such a fun conversation. I think people can have a lot of tangible things that they take away from it. The book, they can get even more and connect with you. This has been great. Thank you for sharing so much time and expertise.
Thank you for having me. It was an honor.